Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing good. So, we just got a massive new update for Arma Reforger, the October 30th, 2025 patch, and man, it's honestly one of the most content-packed updates the game's ever had. I'm talking about a whole new terrain, new factions, new weapons, gameplay mechanics that seriously change how you move, fight, and command, and even single-player missions that finally make the sandbox feel more like a proper Arma experience. So yeah, let's just talk through everything that dropped, because there's a lot to unpack, and I want to go through what's actually worth your attention and how it feels in-game. First off, the headline feature, the thing everyone's been waiting to see, is the return of Kolguyev. The island's finally back, and if you've been around since the old-school Operation Flashpoint days, that name probably just made you smile. Kolguyev's been rebuilt from the ground up with the new Infusion engine visuals, and honestly, it looks stunning. It's rough, almost haunting military aesthetic to it. Dense forests, harsh coastlines, old Soviet installations, and those vast open spaces that just scream tactical playground. Compared to Everon, Kolguyev feels a bit darker, more rugged, and it totally changes the vibe of firefights. It's not just a copy-paste of what we've seen before, it's been modernized in a way that really shows how far Reforgers come visually and technically. Along with that comes the Soviet Naval Infantry faction, which is a huge addition. These guys bring a totally different feel to the battlefield. The uniforms are sharp, the gear looks authentic, and they've got access to some very cool toys. We're talking about the RPG-22 and the RPG-75, both disposable launchers that feel great to use, and new ammo types for the RPG-7, like the PG-7VM and PG-7VR rounds. Those add some serious variety to anti-armor play. And then you've got mines now, the PMN-4 and the M14, which finally make area denial and defensive tactics way more interesting. And it's not just weapons. They also added hand flares, face paint for special forces units, camouflaged and wrapped M21 sniper rifles with the AR-2 optic, and new uniform patterns like TT's KO and Tiger Stripe. The customization options have stepped up massively. You can now really match your look and loadout to the kind of mission you're planning, whether that's stealthy night raids, open field combat, or full-on faction warfare. Speaking of gameplay changes, this update completely transforms how the game feels in motion. You can now move on vehicles, which opens up so many new possibilities. You can reposition while sitting on a truck or in the back of a transport, which just feels so much more natural. You can assemble turrets and mortars from parts in the field, build smaller sandbag defenses, salvage wrecks, and even see foliage reacting to movement. These are the kind of immersive details that make Reforger feel closer to a living battlefield rather than just a static sandbox. And this one's big for the realism fans. Windage now affects projectiles. So when you're shooting at long range, especially with sniper rifles or even machine guns, you actually need to take the wind into account. It's not some overcomplicated simulation, but it adds that extra layer of skill that Arma players love. On top of that, headgear can now be knocked off during combat, which is a small touch, but it looks great and adds a sense of physical impact. Grenade physics have been completely reworked too. They bounce and roll more naturally, and there are even water and underwater effects when they explode. Now, one of the biggest overhauls is in the conflict mode, and this is where the update really shines. Conflict now has a new commander role, and the way it works is super interesting. You actually vote for the commander. That person controls things from the HQ, managing logistics, operations, and support posts, essentially directing the flow of the battle. It adds actual structure and leadership to the chaos, and when you get a good commander who knows what they're doing, the entire game just feels more coordinated. They've also added group rally points, which are a game changer for squad tactics. Instead of spawning miles away or relying on random outposts, squads can now regroup closer to the action, which keeps the gameplay flowing and cuts down on downtime. You can make support requests directly on the map, whether it's supply runs, vehicle requests, or fire support. The new MSAR system limits supplies more realistically, though you can't just spam vehicles or resources. You have to think strategically about what you're requesting and when. Conflict also got new objective types, and the entire base establishing flow feels smoother. It's more about coordination now, working with your commander, keeping supply lines open, setting up defenses, and making tactical decisions rather than just running around capturing points. The new name tag tweaks make identifying teammates cleaner, which is especially helpful in big fights. And for players who prefer solo content, this update brings something that's been missing for a while: Operation Omega, a full single-player campaign. It's a structured scenario that really shows what Reforger can do as a proper Arma platform, not just a tech preview. Alongside that, there's also a single-player mission called Air Support, plus new Game Master and Combat Ops scenarios set on Kolguyev. So if you're more into curated missions or just testing stuff in a sandbox, there's finally some serious content to sink into. Vehicles also got some love. Stationary machine guns are now destructible, which adds realism and removes the weird invincible emplacements issue. Helicopters got a big usability update with a new manual collective mode. giving players more precise control for those who fly with HOTAS setups or just prefer that realistic flight feel. Seat positions, cameras, and turret transitions were also cleaned up, and overall, vehicles feel smoother to operate. And speaking of controls, there's full joystick and throttle support now. If you've got a proper flight setup, you can finally use it in Reforger without as many issues. Though the devs did mention pedals can still behave weirdly, so it's not 100% perfect yet. They also added Logitech Light Sync support, a new keybind to center the camera, and improved gamepad controls with horizontal scroll support. So no matter what kind of input device you're using, it feels a lot more polished. Performance and stability were a big focus too. The patch notes mentioned tons of crash and memory leak fixes, especially for Xbox Series S, which has been a pain point for a lot of players. The projectile simulation now runs at a fixed 30 frames per second tick, which helps with consistency and makes shooting feel smoother overall. PlayStation 5 got some love too. Operation Omega has trophy support, surround sound, and even activity card integration, which is a nice touch for console players who want that premium experience. And if you're running a server, there are a few key things to know. The maximum view distance cap got raised from 5,000 to 12,000 meters, which is a massive jump. That means large-scale engagements look and feel better, but of course it'll depend on your hardware and network setup. The radio frequency step has been changed from 0.5 to 0.2, which makes radio coordination smoother and lets players fine-tune frequencies more easily. Also, Arma Vision is now restricted in multiplayer, and cross-faction refund rates were cut down to 40%, which balances out the economy and makes sticking to your faction more meaningful. There are a bunch of small quality-of-life improvements too that make day-to-day gameplay nicer. The main menu has been updated with a cleaner layout, scenarios refresh automatically when you re-enter the list, player-created tasks now show author names, and the chat UI uses faction and role colors to make it clearer who's talking. There's even a "Don't Show Again" option for hints, which is something small but very welcome. For creators and modders, the workshop got improved too. You can now see if an add-on's corrupted, and there's a repair option built right in. Manifest and dependency handling was fixed, and a bunch of new script hooks were added, like hit zone save load, ragdoll refreshes, and more exposed events. It's easier to experiment and create now, which is great news for the modding community that's been carrying Arma content for years. Now, not everything's perfect. There are a few caveats. HOTAS setups with pedals can still act a bit strange, and saving is currently disabled for single-player missions, which is an intentional choice right now, but might be frustrating if you're expecting mid-mission saves. The devs also pointed players toward their known issues page and the feedback tracker, so they're clearly planning to keep refining things. Overall, though, this update really pushes Arma Reforger closer to what fans have been hoping for since its early release. It feels less like a tech demo and more like a living, evolving military platform. The combination of Kolguyev, the new Soviet faction, improved conflict gameplay, and all the new weapons gives the game a ton of replayability. And those small immersion features, windage, headgear physics, grenade reworks, they're the kind of details that make you stop and realize how much attention to realism Bohemia is putting into this. If you're jumping back into Reforger after a while, it's honestly the perfect time. Conflict matches feel more tactical and coordinated, the commander system adds a reason to communicate and plan, and single-player fans finally have something substantial to explore. The island of Kolguyev alone is worth checking out. It's eerie, beautiful, and perfectly suited for everything from close-quarters ambushes to long-range reconnaissance. And if you're new to the series, this is one of those patches that makes the whole Arma ecosystem click a little more. The balance between simulation and accessibility feels better than ever. You don't need to be a hardcore milsim veteran to appreciate what's happening here. It just plays smoother, smarter, and more immersive all around. So yeah, that's the full rundown of the October 30th Arma Reforger update. There's a lot of depth to it, and it's one of those patches that's not just about adding new toys. It's about evolving the foundation of the game itself. The devs are clearly steering Reforger toward what will eventually become the backbone of Arma 4, and honestly, if this is the direction they're going, we're in for something really special down the line. Anyway, that's everything for this update. Let me know what you think. Have you jumped into Kolguyev yet? Tried the new commander role? Or tested out those RPGs and mines? I'm curious what everyone's first impressions are. I'll be spending a lot more time on the island testing out new strategies, and I'll have more videos breaking down gameplay tips and some of the hidden features you might have missed in this patch. Thanks for hanging out and catching up on everything new with Arma Reforger, and I'll see you out there in the field.